Okay, now we're going to look at applying effects and transitions within the cut panel. This used to be much more primitive in version 16, and in version 17 things have improved quite a bit. We're going to start with these three buttons here, in more or less the center left of the screen. We have Cut, Dissolve, and Smooth Cut, and we're going to take a look at these first. You can see I have my little chevron down here showing me what the closest edit point to my playhead is. If I click the center button, which is Dissolve, it's going to add a dissolve at the nearest edit point to my playhead. And I can scrub back and I can play this. Now, that's a bit chunky, so what we can do is we can grab this and squeeze it in or stretch it out in order to change its duration. And if I want something a little bit more snappy, I can just drag it in. There we go. So we have a different kind of transition here. I want a dip to white for this transition because it's a flashback, and we will cover that later. Now, if I select this effect, I get my last frame, first frame view, and using this, I can actually ripple and roll with the transition completely intact. I can then change the transition independent of the edit point. This is a really nice interface for dealing with transitions in the cut panel. So I've got my crossfade. I want to get rid of it because I want to use a dip to white here, which we will also do in the proper edit. The leftmost button of these three is the cut button. If I click that, it simply reverts the closest edit point back to a standard cut. Easy as. It basically just deletes transitions from the nearest cut point. Now I'm going to scroll back a bit because I want the next button to work on a different edit point. I have a little jump here, and I want to try and disguise this. So we're going to use the smooth cut button, which is the right button over here. A smooth cut tries to blend two shots together to hide a jump cut or a momentary blip in the edit. The smooth cut is almost never used in drama. Its intended function is to be used to try and smooth out little blips or jump cuts in interview where we've cut out an interviewer going or hesitating in some way. And now it's done a pretty good job of blending these two shots together and hiding this jump cut. Now, the smooth cut's default duration is always a little bit long, and that can result in ghosting on some clips, so it's normally good practice to try and make it quite a short transition. Typically, a few frames, by kind of between 4 and 6 frames, should do it. And now, we've gotten rid of the little blip and the little jump cut we had in the edit. Again, I would never do this on a drama edit. I would always use this on interview. Rather than have a jump cut in a drama edit, I just wouldn't do that. I would edit it in a completely different way, but this is for demonstration purposes. It's a nice, useful little effect to have. It can also help smooth out vlogs as well if we've fumbled or if we've hesitated and we have to cut that out. The smooth cut is your friend for vlogging content like that. So, we've taken a look at the basic three buttons here, and they're all right. But if we want to take a look at our transitions and effects, we need to use some different menus. So I want to apply a dip to white transition to this edit point here, because it's a flashback. And when we dip to white, it's either a flashback or it's a fantasy or a delusion of some kind. So I'm going to go up here, and next to media pool and sync bin, I have transitions. And this is where I have all of my transition effects available within Resolve. Now, new to Resolve 17 is this particular interface, but also, if I now mouse over, it will preview the transition for me. I just have to put my mouse over the icon and scrub through it as though it were a film strip, and it will let me see what the transition is before committing to apply it to my edit. This is a nice to have feature, certainly not essential, but it's useful. So I can see if I want to do a kind of Homer Simpson style star wipe, or in this case diamond wipe. I would not use that. That's kind of only good for this truly awful show we have in the UK called You've Been Framed, which basically puts up home videos of people hurting themselves by accident. Uses lots of these very kind of cheap looking transitions. Cross dissolve or dip to color is typically what we're after. So I just have to either double click dip to color, it will apply to the nearest edit point, or alternatively I can click and I can drag, and there we go. I can put it on a clip or on an edit point. So that's pretty much all there is to applying one of these transitions. There's also the effects window, and some of these are okay. The only one of these that I really think is good is Digital Glitch. That actually has a few different applications. But we have night vision, DSLR. The drone overlay is quite fun. That's hilarious. I just like that one. But some of these can actually be quite useful. Like the video call one, I've had a fair few students use that because video calls are quite a common plot device in modern student films now. So they can be all right. And then we have things which are more useful, things like various levels of blur, gamut mapping, color space transforms. Some of these aren't going to do anything unless we actually change the settings, but these are all useful to have later on. And then we have things like glow, lens flare, lens reflections, things that we would use for more stylized work later on, but this is where we find them, this little magic wand up here. So I'm not going to apply any effects. I'm okay with my transition. Now that I have that transition applied, I will go back to my media pool. It's going to be quite a quick and snappy fade to white because I don't want it to take too long. It's a very sudden thing. He's being kind of pulled out of his headspace into a horrible flashback. So I want a kind of dip to color. Now it's currently a dip to black, which is not what I want. So what we need to do is we need to open up the inspector and change the settings of this transition. And that is exactly what we're going to do in the next lecture. We're going to look at the new and improved and massively expanded inspector in Resolve 17. So click on through to the next lecture.